First up is the Cincinnati Bengals, who have the number one pick in the NFL draft, in which they are all but certainly going to take Joe Burrow. So goodbye Andy Dalton, incoming the new era of Cincinnati Bengals with hopefully AJ Green coming back. He was just franchise tagged, and they signed away DJ Reader from the Houston Texans. Next up, we've got the Washington Redskins, who at the number 2 selection are probably going to take Chase Young out of Ohio State. But as of now, they do have an interesting roster. Dwayne Haskins started to come on a little bit towards the end of last season, and he had good rapport with wide receiver Terry McLaurin. But basically, this team really has to get a new identity under new head coach Ron Rivera, in which they hopefully get Darius Geis back into full health. Jaguars have a very different looking roster than the start of last year. They traded away A.J. Bouye to the Broncos, Calais Campbell to the Ravens, curiously traded away Nick Foles just a year after an $80 million contract to the Chicago Bears, and of course traded away Jalen Ramsey for 2 first-round picks to the Rams. So will Gardner Minshew, the mustachioed legend, play out the season as the starter? The Detroit Lions are going to be getting Matthew Stafford back, but he still has yet to win a playoff game and has a pretty low ceiling. However, they do replace a lot of their players with former Patriot stars like Jamie Collins, the linebacker, and Danny Shelton, defensive tackle. They sent away Darius Slay, the star cornerback, to the Eagles and got Desmond Trufant, the corner, but the $50 million contract given to offensive tackle Halapuluvaitai was a curious decision. Dolphins ended last year on a bit of a tear, upsetting the Patriots in Week 17, and continuing that role, they made Byron Jones the highest paid cornerback in the NFL, also signed away Kyle Van Noy and Landon Roberts from the Patriots, and made their new starting running back Jordan Howard. However, they do have the number 5 pick in the draft and are expected to draft Tua Tagovailoa, probably going to replace eventually Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was their leading rusher last season. The New York Giants do have a lot of star players. Saquon Barkley is already one of the best running backs in the league, and Danny Dimes has started to establish himself. However, he did lead the league in fumbles last year. So to help the defense, they brought in James Bradbury, the corner. They re-signed Leonard Williams, brought in Blake Martinez, the linebacker, as well as Kyler Fackrell, another linebacker. So they can make some noise next season, but they need health and hopefully improved play from Danny Dimes. Carolina Panthers are moving on from Cam Newton and starting over with Teddy Bridgewater. Ironically, might be a bridge quarterback, but this is all about Christian McCaffrey. He is the base of this franchise. He's the heart of the offense, and at wide receiver, they really have DJ Moore and need more supporting pieces. But on defense, the harshest blow is Luke Kuechly retiring before hitting the age of 30. We'll see how that defense responds. The New York Jets have retooled their offensive line in this offseason, signing George Font, Connor McGovern, Greg Van Roten, and Josh Andrews. However, they did lose their star speedster in Robbie Anderson. So they went on the lam and signed after Rashad Perriman, who former bust, started to come back into the league. But this team really lacks an offensive identity. They have the number 11 pick in the draft. Look for them to draft one of the 2 Alabama receivers, Henry Ruggs or Jerry Jeudy. The Los Angeles Chargers had a pretty interesting offseason, resetting at the quarterback position, getting rid of Phillip Rivers, and only retaining Tyrod Taylor. Don't think that he's going to be the full-time starter of the season, but they also lose Melvin Gordon to re-sign Austin Eckler. They bring in Brian Bulaga, a tackle, Chris Harris from the Broncos, and Linval Joseph. So I think this can be a successful team, but really depends on what quarterback they draft. I think it's going to be Justin Herbert. The Browns were one of the more disappointing teams of last season, partially because Baker Mayfield took a major sophomore slump and did not have much protection. So their biggest move was investing in Jack Conklin, the tackle from the Titans. They also got Austin Hooper, the tight end from the Falcons, giving him top-tier money. So now that they also have a first-round pick they can invest in a left tackle, they can have a lot more room to work with their weapons in Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, and David Njoku. The Las Vegas Raiders, which I'm never going to be used to saying, made a lot of very curious signings but are slowly building John Gruden's roster. They got Nelson Aguilar, Malik Collins, the defensive tackle, Corey Littleton, a solid linebacker from Los Angeles, and then they brought in competition for Derek Carr. They got Marcus Mariota. Not sure if this is the right move, but even stranger, they signed Jason Witten away from the Cowboys. We'll see how well that rounds out. The Chicago Bears made some interesting moves, including trading for Nick Foles away from the Jaguars, sending a 4th-round pick, all but admitting that the Mitchell Trubisky selection a couple years ago was the wrong choice. They'll have an open competition, but with him and David Montgomery, that's not a very strong offense. They also signed Jimmy Graham, and they also got Robert Quinn, going to help that defense already loaded with Khalil Mack, but losing Clinton Dix to the Cowboys on the back end will definitely sting. The Falcons moved on from quite a few players. They lost Austin Hooper, Vic Beasley, Desmond Trufant, Devondre Campbell, Adrian Claiborne, and then cut Devontae Freeman. However, they did add some major playmakers along the way. They got Dante Fowler, pass rusher from the Rams, and then they also signed Todd Gurley coming back to Atlanta, where he's actually from. So now this could be an interesting year for the team. Matt Ryan is getting towards the twilight years. However, their offense is usually going to be potent as always. After releasing Joe Flacco, it is now the Drew Lock era in Denver, and to help him out, they signed Melvin Gordon from the Chargers, adding to an already strong run game in Phillip Lindsay. They were also able to acquire AJ Bouye for just a 4th-round pick and stud Jarrell Casey, defensive lineman from the Titans, for just a 7th-round pick. However, they did lose some key parts in Chris Harris and Connor McGovern, so ultimately I think this team can shoot up the power rankings if Drew Lock continues to develop. Sporting a new terrible logo, the LA Rams had to get rid of a lot of their key players that got them to the Super Bowl just 2 years ago, got rid of Todd Gurley, and could not retain Dante Fowler or Corey Littleton. Instead, they were able to keep some key guys like Michael Brockers, but with Jared Goff somewhat regressing, and they do still have a lot of good offensive weapons in Cooper Kupp, this team really needs to rebound, or else they could legitimately be the worst team in their own division. After 1 year of the Jacoby Brissett era, it is now time for Phillip Rivers for new beginnings in Indianapolis. They were also able to send the 13th overall pick to San Francisco in exchange for DeForest Buckner, making him one of the highest paid players in the process. So now Rivers will hopefully be able to get a little bit more risky. Brissett was able to minimize mistakes but really didn't open the playbook, so getting T.Y. Hilton back in the fold and Marlon Mack at full strength will hopefully get this team back again.